Good evening and welcome to Savage Universe. I'm here. We're continuing our sci-fi celebration. I'm here with Manu of Sprawlrunners. Manu, welcome. I always enjoy getting to chat with you.
Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to talk with you, J-M. Always an absolute blast to be back on the show. So yeah, thank you for inviting me back.
I feel like we've had, we're well into our second year of Savage Universe, and it just keeps going well. I love being able to signal boost for people who are doing cool things with Savage Worlds, and that definitely counts you and Sprawlrunners. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to put a link in the chat. I'll start with this one. This is the Sprawlrunners link.
No, that is just my my overall link right now. So it's
people can find you.
Yeah, it's important to really just do the HTTP, not do HTTPS, because that is just a generic forward to my Linktree page where you can just find, everything me, like link to my Drive-Thru RPG products. There's the permanent invite link to my Discord server. There's also a link to the podcast I am doing with my enemy Major Vazant, Whiskey and Wildcards.
I was going to say, you guys all need to be aware that we're going to talk about whiskey tonight. Because
that's going to be talked.
This is not officially Whiskey and Wildcards, but I mean, this is that time of year where every year about this time I question my decision to give up whiskey for Lent. And so I'm like, Sunday's coming, and I've got a bunch of different cocktails to try. I got a new bitters. I got a Turkish tobacco bitters.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. The Fee Brothers just released it, and it is delicious. I'm kind of like, I've got a couple of recipes that once a week I'm kind of fiddling with. But we'll talk whiskey later. We're celebrating science fiction because the Science Fiction Companion is out on Kickstarter right now. 1 week left. We're $112 away from 260,000, which is just insane. I know a lot of people I've talked to have been like, this is the companion I've been waiting for. Why did you do the other companions before this one? This should have been the first companion. We're all very excited about it. And I have to agree with Venkel. Is that your official Psycor hat?
That is indeed. I was wondering if anybody was going to pick up on it, but the core is mother, the core is father. I thought I should dress up for the occasion. I mean, of course, we're going to talk about my stuff, but it's under the umbrella of the Sci-Fi Companion, and I have quite a few talking points for that.
Awesome.
So I dug into something that I very rarely touch, because I own a limited edition, collector's edition box of the entirety of everything that was ever released for Babylon 5, which includes. They did various versions for the boxes. I only own one box. I couldn't justify getting all of them because I think they had 3, but I got the one that came with the C-Core cap.
I gotta say, so we're in the middle of season 3. It's my 5th or 6th rewatch. My son was like, I would like to rewatch Babylon 5 because he remembers. It was about 2 years we finished our first watch through of Babylon 5, right when he turned 10. And the ending just broke him. Sleeping in the Light is just
that show does not pull punches.
No, it doesn't.
At no point during the show, but yeah, especially not.
I mean, he was like full on just bawling his eyes out at the end of it.
Yeah, join the club.
I want to do it again. I'm like, awesome. I love the Psycor commercial where if you pause it at the right time, you can see that they put up a subliminal, like it was going slow enough that you see it. So it's not subliminal. Trust the Psycor.
That is so good. So fun fact, the first time I watched Babylon 5, the very first time I came in contact with Babylon 5, it was when it was aired on German TV. But Babylon 5 is one of those shows where even with the filler episodes, you really have to watch all of them to truly understand the show, I feel like. And that didn't happen for me when it aired on German TV because I kept missing episodes. So I was aware that it existed, but I wasn't truly aware of what the show actually was. And then a friend of mine lent me his DVDs for the first season. And I was like 3 episodes in when I started Googling, okay, where can I buy the rest? And then by sheer coincidence, I found a guy who sold off his collection, and that's where I got the collection.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I just sat down and binged the whole thing and all of the movies. And at one point, like the Secor got introduced and the first Secor agent showed up, I was like, what the heck is Chekhov doing in Babylon 5? Because
Fester
I know what's
such a good character. It's such a good character. Did you ever read J. Michael Straczynski's run on Spider-Man?
No, I did not.
It's amazing right up until the ending. Everyone blames him. It was actually editors. It wasn't him. He's like, here's how the ending was supposed to go, and the editors changed it. But the opening panels are these 2 security guards in a nuclear reactor facility, and the one guy's trying to convince his buddy to watch Babylon 5. He's like, I tried, I just can't get through the first season. He's like, but you can't skip anything because every episode builds on the next episode, and stuff doesn't pay off for 3 or 4 seasons. He's like, nah, I'll just go back to watching Friends or something like that. It was,
oh my god. Oh, that is so awesome. So yeah,
right, so let's talk about Sprawlrunners. For people who may not know who you are, who may not know what a sprawl is, which I don't know who we're talking to, but on the off chance they don't know what a sprawl is or what a sprawl runner is, give us the high level overview of Sprawlrunners.
All right, so the TLDR for Sprawlrunners is, at this point, I should probably include a bit of the history of Sprawlrunners. Sprawlrunners originated as a Shadowrun conversion into Savage Worlds, and it kept evolving and I kept incorporating more and more of the spirit of what Savage Worlds is supposed to be into it. And then, well, a certain event happened, but the details on that are not really important, where I switched it from a conversion to being kind of its own thing. And what it is now is, and what I have to keep telling people because they just try to keep running it off the book, and that's not really how it's supposed to be used. It's supposed to be a toolkit which you can use to run your own cyberpunk games in Savage Worlds. Sprawlrunners is very rules light. It has a very hands-off approach and tries to do a lot of things in a way that doesn't instantly click with people. Like, for example, gear isn't purchased with money. It has its own systems, which I call logistics points. If you have played Agents of Oblivion or Titan Effect, then you already know that kind of system where you just have a pool of points and you allocate that to the gear you bring to the respective mission of either the day or the current story arc. And when you're done, that gear that gets discarded, and you fill the pool with different gear,
which is a great way to do it, especially because Cyberpunk is usually so gear focused. It allows you to get a lot of that gear feeling without having to be like, well, here's my separate character sheet for what's in my backpack.
Yeah, here's all the stuff I have in my stash. And to which I say that is perfectly fine. If that is what you enjoy, absolutely go for it. Go mental. That part of Sprawlrunners is not going to be for you. But also, well, it's meant to be a toolkit, so you can just leave out individual options. In my personal opinion, which is biased, it works best if you just combine everything as it is. But if something doesn't work for you, just leave it out and do your own thing. There are a lot of products out there, some of them even on Swag, that give you great lists of gear for cyberpunk products. And of course, there's always Interface 0 3.0 if you're looking for something that is a lot more into the crunch. I'd say Sprawlrunners is probably not really the polar opposite, but very close to the polar opposite of Interface 0 in as much as the design space is concerned, because I try to do it with as little rules interactions as possible.
You're trying to keep it fast.
I'm trying to keep it very fast indeed. And it focuses more, like with Interface 0, you get something that is very close to like how cyberpunk is handled in other tabletop RPG systems. Sprawlrunners took a look at how does cyberpunk feel like when you read a novel or when you watch a show.
Which is what I love about it.
And how do I get that to the table? And that is what Sprawlrunners really wants to enable people to do.
John Doom asked, is he misremembering? Which I don't think he is when it comes to Savage Worlds products. Did someone make an adventure for Sprawlrunners?
There is not, at least not officially.
I get a Benny. I'm using that on Friday. I'm using that tomorrow night, John.
Nice. There are no official adventures by me, and to my knowledge, there are none yet. But there may be something in the works from good friend of Veiled Fury Entertainment, of Jan Jetmar, who is working with some other people, who is doing something in that regards. Don't know if he's in chat, but yeah, find him on one of the many Discord servers he's on and poke him about it.
Jan is a good friend of the Savage universe.
Indeed, there is. So yeah.
All right, so we're also going to be talking about the science fiction companion, which you said you had a lot of talking points on. Now you have the previous edition, the deluxe sci-fi companion, which we said I think clocked in at 96 pages.
Oh,
I got to ask, what are you drinking tonight?
Oh yeah, well that is that ties into something that I'm going to talk about in a bit. Whiskey time and whiskey story time. Tonight's whiskey of choice is the Lefroy Law.
Ooh.
This specific Lefroy is very dear to my heart. Not this bottle. The original bottle is long gone. This is a replacement for that. But there is a story behind it why it is so special to me. There was a time, once upon a time, many years ago, when Amazon had a big sale on everything whiskey, and I mulled over it and I was like, I could get a bottle of Lefroy Law, but I could also get, for the same price, I could get 3 other whiskeys because the Lefroy Law is a bit pricey.
Yes.
And I just mulled it over and I was like, But finally I settled on I'm just gonna get the 3 different whiskeys, which are still gonna be like really good stuff, but have blowing so much money on one bottle of whiskey, even if it is discounted, just seems like the worst choice in that situation. And my wife applauded me for making the economical choice, and then a week later she presented me a bottle of Lefroy Law as a gift, which I think kind of defeated a bit of the purpose, but not really. So in a way, she enabled me.
Whiskey.
In a way, she enabled me, but we all knew where it was coming from and how it was meant. So yeah, so the Lefroy Law is very dear to my heart. It is a very special whiskey that I only drink on very special occasions, and tonight is one of those special occasions. Why, I'm gonna reveal in a bit. I already teased that on the Veiled Fury server that tonight's going to be a night of a big news.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, coming back to the Savage Worlds Deluxe sci-fi companion, or the sci-fi companion in general. So yeah, I have to say that there are a few things I want to say. One, I totally get why the sci-fi companion is getting released last, because it's like getting ginormous at this point, as I understand it.
Yes,
but I really
300 pages is the estimate
300
right now.
pages. But I have to say, I was so mad because you guys released the companions, like all companions, in the exact reverse order I wanted them. Like literally the reverse order. I was happy for and I celebrated each companion I got my hands on. Was like, oh man, come on. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to the Cypher companion for many reasons, and that's going to be 300 very interesting pages to dig into. Like one of the big points of
the size of the last one.
Yeah, exactly. So if and the original, is it the original? Was there one before the deluxe edition? I mean, there was the toolkits before that, but
I think there might have been the toolkits. Yeah, Tracy's right. It's last because it's the most complicated.
The most complicated, and also, is it the most varied? I guess in a way, because like you're gonna do so much stuff with it. You're gonna do spaceships with it.
Yes.
You're gonna do combat walkers. Like who doesn't love big stompy mechs? Then there's combat. Same, man, same. Then there's combat armors in that for going down to the infantry level. Then you were gonna have cyberware in there if you're gonna go infantry level, but not in big hard shells. And then, well, species and ancestries and tech levels and maybe biomes on stuff, and then 0G and everything. So there is so much in there already on 96 pages in the deluxe SFC. I honestly can't wait to see what you guys will do if you have 300 pages to bring more details to that.
Tracy and John brought up a good point. And I think this is kind of, I mean, the variance between low fantasy and high fantasy is not that large of a spread as compared to cyberpunk versus hard sci-fi versus space fantasy versus, there's so many. Sci-fi just feels like a much broader genre that has to have different tools in the toolbox to make that specific style of genre sing.
Exactly. And then there are things that weren't even in the in the previous SFC, like aspects of transhumanism, which have been done by other aces before, but I don't know it because I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, maybe that will be in the new SFC as well, or give us some ideas and some pointers. And as you did in the other companions, simply giving us ideas for how to handle different genres or subgenres within sci-fi or cyberpunk, with just like if you do half a page of plot ideas for every subgenre, I guess that's another 50 pages gone already.
That's right.
So yeah, so
what are you looking most forward to? Like seeing new rules or new things brought in for
so that is a bit of a multifaceted thing. What I'm looking most forward to see how it changed is starships. Because for the deluxe SFC, I had a Google Drive spreadsheet with calculating average damage numbers versus toughnesses, just so I could get an idea of which starship weapon would work against which starship class and size to build stuff within it. Yeah. So I'm wondering if that is going to be simplified a bit. From what I've seen from the preview of the Combat Walker chapter, I guess not that much, because the approach as it is in there, it absolutely makes sense. And as was it Tracy said, it's the most complicated because you just need a certain level of details to get spaceship combat in the way Savage Worlds handles vehicles to the table. Like the only other approach that I can think of is just handle spaceships like characters and then just make it an abstract scale. So if you are in a fighter, then you are going to operate on another completely different scale than a full-blown Star Destroyer, and then there's going to be conversion rates, and that makes it complicated in its own rights. So I would completely understand if that stays more or less the same, with just a bit of fine-tuning from experience over the past decade, more than a decade that the SFC has been out. So then, of course, I'm looking forward to the changes to cyberware, because that is something that relates to Sprawlrunners. Like I can tell people, if you don't like the way how I handle cyberware in Sprawlrunners, which is via edges, so it ties neatly into regular character progression via advances, I can always tell them, okay, if you don't like that, if that's not enough crunch for you, absolutely no problem. You just leave the cyberware chapter out, and you either look at Interface 0 or you just look at the the official Savage World Sci-Fi Companion. It has rules for cyberware, and just use that. So that is one point I like to make. I'm not sure if it is to prove a point, but I just like to bring it up. I still have a pre-generated character somewhere on my Google Drive built with the deluxe Sci-Fi Companion rules, and that character starts with a +6 to hacking. which he ups to a +8 at seasoned rank. And that is a completely regular rules legal standard starting character. So I assume that Cyberware is going to get toned down a bit in regards to bonuses, because that's what Savage Worlds Adventure Edition already did in regards to edges and everything.
Way back.
Exactly. And I think that's a good thing to happen. I'm very much looking forward to see how that exactly plays out. But I also get, on the other hand, people like their nifty bonuses, and having a Cyberware chapter where you get very little of that is probably not what the mass market is looking for. That's one of the a big point of, well, not really complaint, but of feedback I get for Sprawlrunners is like, I really like Sprawlrunners, but I really wish you had like 3 pages of Cyberware. I'm like, but that is not how Sprawlrunners is built. It doesn't really support that.
And it doesn't need it, right?
It doesn't need it. I said that about Cyberware Online. Now it's Chip Truth. It is
Chip Truth. So I just discovered a local, going back to whiskey for a second, because every time I'll have to send you a picture. I run an annual weekend where a bunch of my friends from all over the country fly in, and we play games for the whole weekend. And they usually end up, never count on it, but they usually end up getting me a nice bottle of scotch. And they got me a really nice Lafroig one year. And when I finished it, I was bummed. I was going to keep the bottle just to kind of remember it. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends was like, hey, can I just borrow the bottle for the weekend? And I was like, why? They're like, just, can you trust me on it? He drilled out the bottom, mounted a light bulb inside, and built a wooden case around it and turned it into a lamp for me.
Oh my god!
It is.
So awesome.
I will send you a picture as soon as we're done here. It is one of the coolest things. But I found this. There's this guy. I'll take a picture and send it to you. It's a whiskey called Saints Alley. Is the distillery, and this guy is doing double and triple cask aging to impart different flavors. It has been. The one I have right now is an Armagnac and sherry finish, or sherry and then Armagnac, it's hard to explain, but it's so unique of a flavor, and not unique of a flavor in that's skunk water. But there's a couple of people who are like, this is unique. And I'm like, oh, so it tastes like, fetid.
Weird things. Yeah. Yeah, I had a rather unique encounter as well, because last year my wife and I, we went on holiday on a really small island off to the North Sea coast of Germany, and we discovered that there was a whiskey distillery there, which I had never heard about, and they did tours. So of course we had to do the tour. It was super interesting. The head of the whole the head of the whole distillery, the owner of the farm, which is a family-led farm. So they have I think 8 employees in total, and 6 of those are family. But he, the head guy, did the tour, and you could just see he was super enthusiastic and everything. And then he was like, "Yeah, this is where we store the whiskey and where we dry all of our stuff." So the cool thing is they're doing what they call full circle production. They grow everything they then make into whiskey. They do not buy anything. They pull their own water. They grow their own. The organics, where I forget the English words for stuff. And then they had some people flying in from the Netherlands to build them a drying mechanism for everything. Awesome. And they only do 3 years of aging, and they don't have a controlled warehouse or everything with controlled temperatures or something. It is literally just the top floor of a big building, where the distillery is in the basement or first floor, depending on if you are European or United States American. And there's no temperature controlling or moisture controlling or anything. That thing is completely open to it has a roof, but besides that, it's completely open to the elements. And they have a temperature sensor, and he showed the min and max, and the temperature in that area just went from, I think, -10 to 35 degrees Celsius. Okay. That is. So that range is insane. And he's like, yeah, we can't do something like Jack Daniels or or a Johnny Walker where we have like a signature line that is always the same. We cannot do that, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like every year they bottle once a year, and every year it's gonna be different.
That's awesome, bro.
And I was like, okay, so yeah, you do like standard 3 years of aging in some interesting barrels. So yeah, how good can it be? And then we got to the tasting part, and I sat down and I took my first sip of I think that is Distiller's Choice. It's called. They have 2 lines, and I took my first sip and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
How? What kind of black magic rituals do the Northern Germans know to make it taste like this? And then I added a dash of water, and it
just opened up.
Blew my mind. It was like, I sat there, and my wife looked at me. She's like, "I know that look in your eyes." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, I can hear your wallet bleeding." Because they just make insanely small batches when bottling, because they're such a small operation. Like they bottle in a year what the smallest distillery in Scotland bottles in a month.
Oh man, you got to send me a link to that.
Yeah, they are expensive as heck. The biggest bottles they do are like half a liter and not 700 milliliters, and that 500 milliliters costs €100. But it is so worth it. I can't wait for next year's bottling.
Well, I'm going to take a quick break for a commercial. This is Savage Universe. We talk about all things that are out in the Savage Universe, but we're talking about sci-fi things. And we are going to, at the end, next week we have Maria of Goblin Games for Hellbind. But then after that, Landauer and I will be talking about Fast, Fun, Furious February. And I thought it would be appropriate to share this on the Savage Universe stream in the middle of a show about sci-fi. Longtime chat commenter and all-around great Savage Worlds guy, John Doom, made an adventure for Fast, Furious, Fun February Creator Jam, which is a science fiction adventure on a crippled alien spacecraft hurtling towards a fiery demise. It's called The Seventh Kind, and if you look in your chat, you can find a link to this adventure right now. So if you need more science fiction adventures, go check out John Doom's adventure. I've read it. It's a good one. So now you're having special whiskey. I should have had special whiskey and joined you. What is this announcement that you were going to share that enabled you to?
If you are putting me on the spot like this, but yeah, really, thank you for the segue. Sprawlrunners has been out for quite some time now, and the way to finishing Sprawlrunners and putting it out has been absolutely amazing. But ever since, I've been gathering more experience, and since it was out in the wild, I got a lot more feedback from a lot more people, and that led to a kind of logical conclusion, I would say.
Yes! Oh, your showmanship constantly shows me up, man.
So yes, there is going to be a Sprawlrunners 2 in not the near future, but the future.
But the far future, so it's going to be like hard sci-fi? Or is it still in the near future in the setting?
In a galaxy far, far away. But that would be a long time ago. Dang it. Sprawlrunners 2 is going to be an evolutionary step of Sprawlrunners 1, I would say. Sprawlrunners 1 will still have its it's kind of hard to translate that expression into English. It will still have a leg to stand on when Sprawlrunners 2 finally hits, because Sprawlrunners 2 is, as I said, it's an evolution. There are a lot of things that I realized over the past years I could do with the idea of Sprawlrunners, like as a basis. and also some things that were missing from Sprawlrunners 1. So Sprawlrunners 2 is going to be more extensive than Sprawlrunners 1. If you are still in the camp of give me as little rules as possible, then I'm just going to be completely honest, you probably will want to stay with Sprawlrunners 1, and that's perfectly fine. Keep enjoying it. Sprawlrunners 2 will expand on a lot of things. Like, ironically, the cyberware list will expand. That's going to be more things to pick from, but the basic idea is going to stay the same. It's still going to be edges you buy. It's going to tie into the advanced system so that it doesn't do the you purchase power for money. That is still very much a core principle of Sprawlrunners 2 as well. Everything ties into how you spend your advances, and that is going to expand where you increase your powers. The jockeys are going to get a lot more love in Sprawlrunners 2, with many more options to customize vehicles, to customize your drones, everything, once again, neatly tying into edges, which is why I'm excited for the Cypher Companion as well, because that is going to give people options who don't want to have it tied into the advances like Sprawlrunners does. They can just go and use the creation stuff from the Sci-Fi Companion. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention in the list of things the Sci-Fi Companion can do. It has construction rules for robots and drones already, so that's probably going to be expanded as well in the new one as well.
Yeah, we don't ever take anything out. We refine it and then we add to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that is basically the idea of Sprawlrunners 2. Magic is going to change because that is a point that came up often, also with reviews, where they were like, yeah, Sprawlrunners, it's basically Savage Shadowrun, and they are not wrong to a certain degree, because that is where it originated from. Sprawlrunners 2 is going to take a step back from that and will be a lot more generic in cyberpunk. I'm looking at a lot more different sources, and I'll try to incorporate that into the guidelines for people in Sprawlrunners 2.
We're going to see Furious Magic incorporated into
yes.
Sprawlrunners 2. Yes.
The basis of Magic for Sprawlrunners 2 will be Furious Magic. It's going to get expanded and a few more ideas added to it for situational stuff. The basis for hacking in Sprawlrunners 2 is going to be Furious Hacking, but also expanded upon because there were a few things that just came up way after I published Furious Hacking, like simple stuff like Decker on Decker combat, which I said Deckers, which they are not. They're in Sprawlrunners, they're operators, but you know what I mean, like operator on operator combat. That wasn't in Sprawlrunners 1, that wasn't in was in Sprawlrunners 1, but it wasn't in Furious Hacking. It's going to be in there.
Keep my copy of Furious Hacking like right here for when I run my Crucible games.
Oh. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more. The equipment chapter will probably be more of a disappointment to certain kinds of players because it's going to be even more compact than Sprawlrunners 1. That is one thing that's going to change in a different direction. It's going to be a lot more compact, and it's going to be even more built around the idea of it being a toolkit. Don't worry, this does not apply to guns. You will still be able to pick your class of gun and then put accessories on it, and then you slap a cool name on it, and then you're gonna absolutely rock that combat shotgun you always wanted. But like the gear around it, the gear you have to do your missions for the stealth missions or the explosive stuff, that is going to get compressed a lot more. So you just basically pick the kind of toolkit you want. Two kits in a toolkit. Toolkitception. Like you pick the demolition toolkit, which is going to have a certain amount of uses for a certain amount of gear points, as they're called in Sprawlrunners 2. Some terminology also changes. Logistics points become gear points because the logistics points Noma kind of confused people apparently. So I'm changing that to gear points. That's what it's going to do. It's going to be for gear. There's going to be a separate mechanism added to that, which will allow you to do bribes or buy information. But I'm not going to go into too much detail here because details are still being fleshed out. The basic idea of Sprawlrunners 2 is in active playtesting. I've got a group that I'm running it for. and we've been playing it for, I believe, almost a year now, so I know it holds up at the table. Awesome. A lot of the material is already written, but it's also still, well, just like the new sci-fi companion, it is still subject to change. It is constantly evolving. There's going to be a lot more examples in it for stuff, because that is something that I felt was missing from Sprawlrunners 1. And I toyed with the idea of making an additional book called Running the Sprawl to just explain how Sprawlrunners 1 was to be used, but I found I kind of suck at that. So this is going to be incorporated in Sprawlrunners 2 with just a lot more these live play examples that Peg does with Red and Gabe. I'm going to do something similar, so it's a bit easier to understand. Awesome. And it is, because that was one of the major points of Sprawlrunners, and people were like, cool, is there like a setting for it? And I'm like, no, it's a toolkit. You make your own setting. And I got that feedback so much. So yeah, I heard you guys. No, don't worry. Sprawlrunners 2 is going to come with its own mini setting. It's not going to be a full-blown setting. It's just got to be, I don't know, 30, 40 pages or something. But it's going to be, will have its own mini setting with pre-generated characters. And it's going to showcase how you could adapt the content of Sprawlrunners 2 into a setting, which probably will mean that setting is going to be the most run setting that's going to be there for Sprawlrunners 2, but well, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
I've got a question. Are we going to be able to push you into an ACE license for Sprawlrunners 2?
I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I am very comfortable with being a swag author, sure. And I think I'm kind of established at being a swag author. Making the jump to Ace puts me in a very different pool.
Yes.
Of people. If I ever do a print run, I see that question. Yeah. If I ever do a print run, I don't think I would do offset print like you guys at PEG do. I would just use either Lightning Source via Drive-Through RPG or potentially Lulu, because they have really great print quality as well. I've used them in the past to have stuff printed for private games, for home games for myself. An Ace license would allow me to do that. That is absolutely true. But it also comes with so much more work. And I do not know if I will be able to manage to invest all that work. Same with the question about a Kickstarter campaign. I've worked behind the scenes for quite some time in the Savage community, so I know almost firsthand how much work a Kickstarter campaign will be. So either I will be able to pay someone to run that for me, which is an option I'm evaluating. The success of Sprawlrunners 1 gave me the opportunity and the financial backing to experiment more with Sprawlrunners 2. Sprawlrunners 2 will probably not feature stock art. It will probably feature custom art. I have already commissioned a few things to try out the first ideas of the plot point campaign. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. The mini setting will come with a mini plot point campaign. Like nothing overboard, like just 3 to 5 plot points, which will not be that extensive, but just get across the idea of what you can do, and hopefully transport my idea of cyberpunk.
So Peg says just evaluate the numbers on a print run, because if you need somebody to talk numbers with, reach out to me on Discord. Like I know a lot of the people who work with Pinnacle, and I know that a lot of people in the Savage Worlds community would rally around to kind of help, lubricate any gears with sweat and blood as needed. Like good cyberpunk drones. We will show up, and we will.
That's a nice one. Yeah, well, margins is a good point. I'm still at the point where I honestly believe I'm not doing it for the money. On the other hand,
Whiskey.
having the money that Sprawlrunners gave me allowed me to now plan what I am planning for Sprawlrunners 2. So we'll see. But I'm not ruling anything out at this point. Yes, you guys have cooked me soft, as we say in Germany, to the point where I concede to a maybe.
We'll take a maybe. You heard it first here, folks. Maybe. We got a solid
maybe.
Meh. All right, well, I'm going to post the link again to your link tree. Go check it out. Go get. If you don't have Sprawlrunners, what are you doing? Go get Sprawlrunners now. Manu, thanks. Always a great time hanging out and chatting with you. Send me the link to that distillery because I got people here who may be able to get me a bottle. So
will do. Always a pleasure of
price,
being here. Thank you so much for inviting me back. And
always.
I will see you out in a sprawl of your choice.
Next week, we're going to be here with talking about Hellbeing, another great sci-fi setting for in the Savage universe. Until next time, go out there and play some Savage Worlds. I'm J-M. This has been Manu, and may all your dice ace. Until next time, have a good one, everyone. And the core is mother, the core.